On the 12th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 12 drummers drumming, 11 pipers piping, 10 lords a-leaping, 9 ladies dancing, 8 maids a-milking, 7 swans a-swimming, 6 geese a-laying, 5 gold rings, 4 calling birds, 3 French hens, 2 turtle doves, and a partridge in a pear tree. Well done, church. Thank you. Today is the 12th and final day of the Christmas season. Now, there are some crazy people out there that think Christmas starts right after Halloween, but this is not the case at all. There are others that think that Christmas starts right after Thanksgiving, and whilst it is certainly permissible to play Michael Bublé's Christmas album on Good Friday, it is not actually the beginning of Christmas. Still others wait until December 1st to declare the beginning of the Christmas season, but they are also far off from hitting the target. As all of you good people know, Christmas does not start officially until December 25th, the first day of Christmas. Everything else before it falls into one of two categories, Advent or crazy, depending on how far out we start it all. It's true. We have the beginning of the Christmas season, and it lasts for 12 days until January 5th, traditionally the time when we take down our Christmas decorations. How have you all stuck to that schedule? Are you going home today to bring down your trees? In the parsonage, we took it down yesterday. And then, at the end of the official season, we go in to celebrating a very special remembrance in our tradition, Epiphany. Epiphany simply and quite literally means shining or showing forth. It refers to an enlightening or an awakening in the mind of an individual. When something has come to light in our minds, or when something has been shown forth and we have had our hearts or our minds changed as a result, we say that we have had an epiphany. In the context of the Christian tradition, the Epiphany refers to the first manifestation of Christ the Messiah to individuals who were not of the Jewish tradition. The Epiphany is the beginning of your faith and mine as the light of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob was shone into the lives of humans who stood outside of the old familiar story and tradition. The Epiphany is the beginning of good news for all people. The God of the universe was not just for a special group of people qualified by birth or by status in the world. Rather, this God of great power, of great hope, and of unconditional love was and is for all people. Isn't that exceedingly good news, church? Now, we know the story well because we normally lump it in with the story of Mary and Joseph and the shepherds in the stable each year. We see it on our Christmas cards. And here at Memorial, we tell the story all at once right outside the front of the church with our nativity and those huge camels. It's the story of the Magi, the 3 kings, the wise guys, if you want to put it like that. Matthew tells us this story in his account of Christ's birth story. The star appears at around the same time that Jesus was born. The Magi, who are learned in the ways of astrological wonder, see this star and they know what it means. The Messiah has been born. Word spreads from these learned stargazers, and eventually the king, Herod, gets to hear that another king, the Messiah, has been born. Well, Herod calls together his brightest and his best to seek the answer to one very simple question. Where? Where has this Messiah been born? Well, they tell him that according to the prophets of old, there is only one place where the Messiah is going to be born, Bethlehem of Judea. Herod is gripped with fear. Fear that another king has come. What will this mean for him? What will it mean for his power and his control? Is this the beginning of the end of his reign? So, secretly, he calls for the Magi, who saw the star initially. They come to him and he asks them to lead him to the child so that he might too go along and pay the child homage. He sends them to Bethlehem to find out where the child is, and they begin their journey. They follow the star in the sky until it rests over the place where Christ is, whereupon they enter the house, see the child and his mother Mary, and they bow down on their knees to pay homage to him. They open up their treasure chests and they give the child lavish gifts of gold and myrrh and frankincense. And then that night in a dream they are warned of Herod's real intention with the child king. That Herod is out to get rid of the newborn king, and they make a decision not to return to Herod, but rather go home on a different route. This is a familiar story, right? The story of the Magi seeking the light, seeing the light, receiving it, and letting it shine radiantly from their lives. Now, these days, of course, we mix Matthew's story of the birth of Jesus right in with a little bit of Luke's story, and we add, for good measure, a little bit of John's famous prologue. And the result is that we have a Christmas and Epiphany narrative that is a mixture of the three different stories, and they all get told at once in the same. And in this process, the details get a little bit lost. For example, the shepherds were there on the night that Jesus was born, but these star-gazing magi, well, they were not. They came afterwards, maybe days, maybe months. Some people even say maybe a couple of years after the fact. But we always have them right there in our nativity scene depictions, right alongside the newborn baby Jesus and his shepherd visitors. Another detail lost or changed in the hybrid story that we are familiar with is how the Magi ended up becoming three kings or three wise men. I mean, how did this happen? It can't simply be because the words "we three kings" fit into that song better than "we few Magi." It's probably more connected to the Old Testament reading that Sherry read for us just a few moments ago. The book of Isaiah is one that is source of much scholarly debate and interest. Some people say Isaiah was written by one author. Some people say that it is the work of three or maybe more authors. There are debates about who it was written for and when exactly it was written. However, one thing is generally agreed upon and not much up for debate is this passage that we are reading, Isaiah chapter 60. You can pretty much take to the bank that this part of the book of Isaiah was written during the post-exilic period. Post-exile, what does that mean? When we say something is post-exile, we mean that it is a writing that is taking place after the people of Israel have returned to Jerusalem from their Babylonian exile, which happened as a result of the fall of Jerusalem around the year 600 BC, also known as a very, very, very long time ago. So, when Isaiah is writing this section, he's writing to a people who have returned to their once glorious home and have found that it is still in ruin. It is filled with poverty. Some people are there trying their hardest to make some small businesses work. Some Samaritans have migrated there from the north. A couple of generations worth of people who have been knocking themselves out to try and make a local economy work against all of the odds. But you know what? Times are tough. The good old days were a dim and distant memory of the past. The ancient glories of Jerusalem as they had known it in their stories, those days were gone. And into this dark and rather hopeless scene rides the prophet, bringing a belligerently hopeful message for the people. Arise, shine, for your light has come and the glory of the Lord has shone upon you. You can almost hear the grumble of those people struggling as they hear the words come out of the prophet's mouth. It's easy for you to say, Mr. Prophet. You've not been here these last couple of generations struggling in all this. It's miserable. Hope is lost. There is no good news in this place. The prophet, you would think, has heard them speak, and he responds by saying, you know what, guys? You are right. Darkness does cover the earth, and thick darkness the people, for sure. But God is radiant, and God's glory is all around you. Nations will move towards your brightness. Kings will move towards your light. He says, times have been tough, but things are changing because God has not forgotten you. God is showing up right now in all of God's radiance and light. So lift up your eyes and look around you. Everyone is coming to you, attracted by the light that is within you. They are coming from far away, and they will be established here. The prophet is speaking to this tired nation of people. He's saying that God is not done with them, that they are called to be light to the world, shining so brightly and radiantly that nations and kings will be drawn to them. God is going to broaden the hearts of these people so that they will be able to receive the people of all nations that are coming their way. And then at the end of this passage, we get to the camels and the kings as we then eventually find them in Matthew later on. When these nations and their kings stream towards the light of God, they will come on herds of camels. There will be camels from Midian and Ephah, along with vast numbers from Sheba. And they shall carry gold and incense, and they shall carry the praises of God. This verse probably has something to do with our camels and our gifts and that hybrid story that we tell. So what have we learned today? Well, we've learned that our familiar Christmas story that's told in pageants year after year is not the story that we find in any one singular spot of the gospel accounts. We've learned that these star-gazing magi have become kings bearing extravagant gifts as a result of the hybrid nature of this story coming together. But why, oh why, is any of this important on Epiphany Sunday? You're asking that question, right? Good question. It's important because of the common thing that all of these different stories have to share. The light has come. The light has come. The prophet Isaiah stated to a lost and a confused post-exilic people that they could arise and shine because their light had come. Matthew spoke of these generous magi, acknowledging in a place of darkness the surprising and the winning light of God in the gift of the Christ child. John, the gospel writer, said it too in his beautiful prologue to the gospel. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things came into being through him, and without him not one thing came into being. What has come into being in him was life, and this life was the light of all people. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not overcome it. There was a man whose name was John, sent from God. He came as a witness to testify to the light so that all may believe in him. Now he himself was not the light, but he came to testify to the light. The true light which enlightens everyone was coming into the world. My friends, this is the message of Epiphany. Your light has come. In a dark world teetering on the edge of more war, your light has come. In a world in which many are battling illness and injury or chronic pain, your light has come. In a world in which many are living lives bound by addiction to prescription drugs, to alcohol, to food, to illegal drugs, to a plethora of other unhealthy things, your light has come. In a world in which our systems seem to favor the super wealthy and tend to exploit the very poor, your light has come. In a world that continues to evidence human brokenness, in a world in which evil so often seems to win, and in which sin seems so very impossible to overcome, your light has come, church. The coming of the Christ child was the coming of light into the darkness of this world, a light that could never be extinguished, a light that is eternal in its nature and mighty in its power to ensure that each and every one of us can make the choice to receive it and then know that we will never, ever walk in complete darkness again. And to those of us that have made journeys through the darkest valleys of experience in this life, that has to be exceedingly good news. Amen, church? So hear it again today, my friends. Your light has come. To those who are in anguish right now, rise up and walk in the light, for your light has come and the glory of the Lord has shone upon you. To those who are in pain right now, rise up and walk in the light, for your light has come and the glory of the Lord has risen upon you. To those among us this morning who are addicted or who know well those who are addicted, rise up and walk in the light of freedom, for your light has come and the glory of the Lord has risen upon you. To those of us who know our own brokenness, who know our own sin, rise up and walk in the light, for your light has come and the glory of the Lord has risen upon you. Epiphany simply and quite literally means shining or showing forth. It refers to an enlightening or an awakening in the mind of an individual. Dear friends, your light has come in Christ. And it is time for us to be assured of that, to receive that good news once again, whether it's for the very first time this morning or whether it's for the 51st time in your life. This is the light that lifts the weight of burden from the hearts of men and women. This is the light that brings freedom in this life. This is the light that shines into every single dark corner of our hearts. Nothing can be hidden from it. And it is the light that brings freedom in Christ. And if we need to hear that today, and if we need to receive that today, then we need not delay. We must open up our hands and open up our hearts and open up our minds and hear the message of this Epiphany Sunday. My friends, if you need to hear it today, your light has come. Now arise and shine. Your light has come and the glory of the Lord has shone upon you and upon this earth in the birth of the Christ child. I invite you to respond to that today. I invite you to respond to that by remembering, like we do every single month at this time, that our light has come and has shed light upon everything that's going on in our life, everything that's going on in our world. And in the Christian church, we have the tradition of doing that by remembering that Jesus gathered one night with his friends. It was the night on which he was betrayed. And on that night, he gathered around a table, and he took a loaf of bread that was on that table. He gave thanks for it, and he broke it. And he gave it to his disciples and said to them, "My friends, take, eat. This is my body broken for you. Do this in remembrance of me." That night, we're told, the same way, after supper, Jesus took a cup. He gave thanks for it. And he gave it out amongst his friends. And he said, "Friends, take and drink from this, all of you. This is my blood of the new covenant poured out for you and for many for the forgiveness of sins. Do this as often as you do it in remembrance of me." And every time we break this bread and drink from this cup, dear friends of the Christian tradition, brothers and sisters, we remember that light has come. Beautiful, healing, powerful, restorative, inextinguishable light. Church, your light has come. And so today we invite you to come forward in just a few